Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing Godzilla v. Kong 2021. Godzilla v. Kong is the 2021 American monster film directed by Adam Wingard, sequel to both Godzilla King of Monsters in 2019 and Kong Skull Island 2017. Currently, we've only covered on the podcast King of Monsters. I have gone back and watched Skull Island, but I need to do a review of it. I'm kind of unsure, depending on how well this review does. Will depend on if we decide to go back and give Kong Skull Island a full in-depth review. However, I have seen it, so I do have these under my belt as just references and knowing what they are. So, there's been tons of like Godzilla legendaries, the production companies legendaries, Godzilla. I think even since from the Bryan Cranston franchise. So what am I looking at? It is the fourth film in the Legendary Monsters universe. So what do we have? The Kong Skull Island. We got the Godzilla. We got what do we got? Now we have King Kong versus Godzilla. So it's like the cream of the crop. It's the clash of the titans. It's some of the biggest monster battles that have been on cinema to this date. So given that there's the pandemic going on, different states have different laws regarding about going to the movie theater. I do think this would be best seen or best viewed on the biggest screen possible. I know this is one of those movies that could be categorized as a big dumb movie, and I can't really argue with it. But with saying that, I think that it would still serve the viewer the most spectacle on the biggest screen possible. So I did watch this on my television. I didn't watch this on theater, so I do regret that just a tad bit, which might affect my viewing a little bit. But that's just something that you should know how we should go going forward with this. Shut up! Shut up! Freaking my echo is just like busting one over there. Okay, so. Let me see. It is also the 36th film in the Godzilla franchise, 12th film in the King Kong franchise, and 4th Godzilla film to be produced by the Hollywood studio. This movie stars Alexander Skarsgård, the oldest of the Skarsgårds. Actually, there's an older Skarsgård that's a father Skarsgård, but we're not going to talk about him. He's the oldest of the siblings. We got Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry. What else have we got? Sean O'Geary, Isa Gonzalez, Julian Dennison, Lance Riddick, Kyle Chandler, and Demian Bashir. In the film, Kong clashes with Godzilla as humans lure the giant ape into the hollow earth to retrieve a power source for a weapon to stop Godzilla's mysterious rampages. So, it was announced back in October 2015. They had been planning this, franchise for quite a while. I wouldn't say this is not nearly as planned out and as well as everyone's going to compare it to the Marvel franchise and how Disney has had meticulous planning ever since they did the Iron Man, the beginning of Iron Man, and just had this incredible franchise. So everyone's been trying to do their monster universe, their own multiverse, their own something or another to bring in all of their franchises all into one kind of big hit. So, Adam Wingard, I'm a little bit in the dark about who this guy is, but I think he's best well known for the films You're Next in 2011, The Guest 2014, The Blair Witch 2016 project, Death Note 2017, and I've heard multiple reports that he is supposed to direct and co-write a sequel to Face Off, which is going to be pretty interesting. That is a crazy ass movie from the 90s. Nicolas Cage and fucking what the hell is his name? John Travolta, God. Yeah, fucking John Travolta and Nicolas Cage doing some craziness. And this guy is also going to come in and possibly direct the Thundercats adaptation. So I'm kind of excited about that. Thundercats! Ah! I don't remember anything else from that. I just remember everyone's like yelling and shit like that. But anyways, that is Adam Wingard. So let's go a little bit in depth about this movie from what's going down, the breakdown. The budget, $155 million to $200 million budget, running time, 113 minutes. I think that's, what is that, just under 2 hours. But yeah, so let's see what it says. The film generally received positive reviews from critics and praise for the visual effects and action sequences, but criticism toward the script and human characters. It broke several pandemic box office records and has grossed $258 million worldwide against a break-even point of $330 million, making it the third highest grossing film of 2021. Also a major streaming hit, becoming the most successful launch in HBO Max's history. So this seems to have even broken Zack Snyder's Justice League's big release. I kind of thought that was going to be a little bit bigger than it was, but I think that they kind of overestimated their the audience's interpretation for wanting to see all of Zack Snyder's goodness on screen or even on streaming. It's a loud minority, but they wanted to see it anyway. So let me see what we got. What do we got? Okay, so screenplay, Eric Pearson, Max Borenstein. Pearson's known for feature films Thor Ragnarok, Black Widow, Godzilla v. Kong. Borenstein was working on Godzilla 2014. We have covered that, by the way. Kong Skull Island 2017. He did contribute to 2019's King of Monsters. And now he's here. So, with saying all that, we have pretty much the majority of the people that have been involved in a big chunk of what's going on in this monster universe. But let's kind of go down to the basics. All right, so we got the cinematography, Ben Siren, music by Tom Holkenberg, also known as Junkie XL, which is, this dude must be just getting hella work from HBO. He was the same guy on Zack Snyder's stuff as well. I kind of liked his work here better. Let me see what Ben Sarenstein's best known for. Sarensen is best known for. Oh, God. He's best known for his work on Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Is that the second one? And World War Z and Unstoppable. I thought those were... I think I liked Unstoppable the best out of all those, but I wasn't crazy about them, to be honest. Yeah, he also worked on Pain and Gain with Michael Bay, The Mummy in 2017. Yeah, I don't see too many things I'm crazy about on this, but anyways, that's just the cinematographer. I think this is some of his best work, to be honest. When it comes to the massive scale of what we're getting in this movie, I just really enjoyed it. So let's talk about the plot a little bit. Hold on, I'm going to do a little pros and cons of this movie. I actually was doing a live tweet, so if you want to check out all my live tweets on some of the movies that I follow, that I watch, go to @LuckyDog Podcast on Twitter, and you'll be able to follow all the live tweeting that we do with a handful of movies. So yeah, I think the pros are it is a big, dumb, fun action movie. The best things about it are the action. The camera work is a lot better in this movie when it comes down to knowing where we are in correlation of these massive monsters that are the size of buildings. I felt like the biggest problem in the previous films, so if we want to talk about just in the last, I think 10 years of the last Legendary's Monsterverse, we have the one, Godzilla, I think 2014, that one with Bryan Cranston. The biggest problem with that was it was so serious, it was so dramatic, and it felt super real, but also to the point where I wasn't having that much fun, and we don't actually get to see too much of the monsters. The next one was Godzilla. Sorry, not Godzilla. Kong Skull Island. I think that what they tried to do there was they tried to make it more of like a universal ride while watching it. And so when you're doing that, it changes the effect of how, what you're going through of watching it. It's like they really tried to have the explorer, they tried to have the scientist, they tried to have the photographer, they tried to have the person that was stuck on the island. It was all the different tropes that you would think you would really like. And the majority of people I know really do like Kong Skull Island. I got to say, I think I'm one of the biggest critiques. I have the biggest critiques of Kong Skull Island because I've watched it. I watched it several times without watching the full thing through. I saw bits and pieces, and then like 2 weeks ago I watched the entire movie, and I still feel like those characters are so hollow. They can't really write these characters to make them interesting. Now, I do think the most interesting characters in all of the series are in Kong Skull Island, but yet they're still boring in my opinion. I don't really understand why they are like that. Maybe John C. Reilly might have been the best character in that. Maybe Samuel L. possibly as well. But the thing is, they only have a handful of the characters follow, this Legendary's Monsterverse. So what I had heard was Bryan Cranston. I'm not going to go into specific reasons why he's not in the rest of the Legendary's Monsterverse, but he's not. And I think the big criticism from that movie, which was in like 2014, is there should have been that one solid guy we keep going to every single movie that gives us the relatability. They keep changing the cast on us, and we barely were relating to these monsters in a way, so that it's just they don't seem to kind of be building on the stories that they already have, which thus leaves us only wanting additional action. And so when there's not this fun action going on, we're kind of left with, all right, do we care about these characters yet? No, we don't. Okay, so then let's get back to the action kind of thing. So I felt that again here. They still do not know how to write the humans in an interesting way. I think the biggest problem is they always write these characters in a way that feel that you are supposed to care about these characters, but they are inconsequential to what's happening on these massive scales, So I did feel like the Kong Skull Island was a little bit more important with regards to their input in the story. Like in this movie, I felt like Brian Tyree Henry, Millie Bobby Brown, all the information they find is irrelevant towards. It's supposed to be a big reveal, but I mean, us as a viewer, we're going to find this out anyway. So it almost becomes inconsequential. So make them matter. So let's see. So this was supposed to be released, I think last year sometime. I need to check. I don't know, but let me see. All right, so we are going to cover the plot right here. So this is the spoiler section. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. Thank you for supporting LuckyDog Podcast. If you want to listen to the spoiler section, please go to at Patreon, patreon.com/LuckyDog Podcast. You'll get the spoiler section, and you'll get a slightly longer podcast, as well as the full cast of all the other things that we have covered. We've covered Search Party. We've covered Possessor 2020, Sound of Metal. There are tons of reviews that are already hot and ripe for the picking. So go check that out. Thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. Again, I would give this movie, I think I gave it a 6 out of 7. Let me just confirm that real quick. And if I haven't, I think that's what I'm going to give it. 6 out of 7, 6 out of 10. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm going to give this a solid 6 out of 10 because I've watched it a week ago and I can't remember a lot of the fundamental parts of it. Most of it's just visual. I think that it really has, it doesn't deserve much higher than that. But I still want to see more in this world. All right, thank you for watching, listening, Look It All Podcast. Here is the spoiler section. Take it easy. 5 years after Godzilla defeated King Ghidorah, Kong is monitored by Monarch within a giant dome of Skull Island. How the hell did they even get him in there? Every time they move Kong, I have no idea how they even got that dude anywhere. Kong is visited by Gia, the last Yui native. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her culture. So the last native of, I believe, where he's from. Um, Kong expert Kong's expert Ilian Andrews' adopted daughter, who is deaf and communicates with Kong via sign language. This is very cool. So now we can have some real conversations with Kong. He can communicate with the people. Bernie Hayes is an employee of Apex Cybernetics and host of a Titan Conspiracy Theory podcast. He extracts data suggesting sinister activities at a Pensacola factory. However, Godzilla suddenly attacks the facility during the rampage. Bernie stumbles on a massive device. Madison Russell, a fan of Bernie's podcast, enlists her friend Josh to investigate Godzilla's attacks. Now, I will say this entire thing, I'm not crazy about there being a conspiracy theory podcast. I would rather there be some sort of basis of having the facts and stuff. So maybe if they could just remove that part, I would be a little bit more satisfied with Brian Tyree Henry's interpretation of Bernie Hayes. But he is cracking jokes left and right that don't even feel 100% grounded with this world. So we have Millie Bobby Brown, I forgot her friend's name, and Brian Tyree Henry going on this side quest, basically the B plot. It ultimately becomes, because we're in the spoiler section, we know what this becomes, and they end up being kind of the reason that they stop the Mega Godzilla at the end, because they pour whiskey on it. I do think it's kind of ridiculous. It doesn't really make much sense. And I kind of wish they had more of a play into it, because Millie Bobby Brown had somewhat of a connection in the same way this young girl has with Kong. She kind of had one with Godzilla. I thought there was going to be some sort of matchup in a way where, you know, both of the Kong and both of Millie Bobby Brown were the ones that they needed to be protected by these massive, you know, deities or these massive titans. But I don't know. I just feel like the writing on this was not exactly on par. I kind of wish we were in Millie Bobby Brown's perspective almost the entire time, to kind of give us this Amblin feel, this small town feel that it ends up there's this massive conspiracy or massive massive plot to overturn something that just starts small and ultimately gets bigger, kind of like how Spielberg's work tends to do, and has this real heart and soul, which I feel like the heart and soul in this is with the young girl, Gia, but she is not exactly on screen the most time, and she's not the main character. So there's pros and cons to this whole thing all over. So Apex CEO Walter Simmons recruits Nathan Lind, this Hollow Earth theorist, to guide a search for a power source inside the Hollow Earth, the homeworld of the Titans. Nathan is initially hesitant as his brother died on an expedition to Hollow Earth due to a strong reverse anti-gravitational effect. I wish that would have been related to something that we would have known, maybe like in Kong Skull Island, or maybe something that we would have seen. Like, have these characters have some connection from the previous movies, like, or show us something. Don't just tell us. He agrees after Walter reveals that Apex has developed heaves, specialized crafts able to withstand the pressure exerted by a gravity field. So it's like, okay, they're going on an expedition. This is kind of cool. So we have all these different side missions going on. This has to be kind of cool. Nathan meets Ilian and convinces her to let Kong guide them through the Hollow Earth through an outpost in Antarctica. Nathan, Ilian, and a Apex team led by Walter's daughter, Maya board a modified barge escorted by the U.S. Navy that carries a sedated and restrained Kong. I did feel like this was a kind of like, how the fuck did they even get him on the damn barge? That was my biggest thing. I was like, my lord, did they have to sedate him if they could talk to him? A lot of questions. And when did they just figured out they could talk to him? This little girl just always running up to Kong without any supervision, just shows up and can talk to him. It's like, could they not have told him? I don't know. Godzilla attacks the convoy and defeats Kong. Now this is all in one line, but this is an amazing battle. I had no idea the first battle. There's probably like I'd say 3 solid battles between all the monsters, starting at about the 30-minute mark. Here comes the boom. It was amazing. I was very impressed with their ability to have different places that they were going to fight. I'm glad it wasn't just city, or small towns or just random places and that they would fight. They were very specifically chosen. I did want to see a Hollow Earth fight, but we'll probably see another one between the two. So he defeats Kong, but retreats after the ships disable the power and trick him into thinking they are destroyed. To avoid alerting Godzilla, Kong is airlifted to the Hollow Earth's entrance, and Gia convinces him to enter the tunnel while the team follows him into heaves. Madison and Josh find Bernie, who joins their investigation. They sneak into their wrecked Apex base, discover a secret facility underground, and inadvertently locked in an underground monorail transport to an Apex facility in Hong Kong, where they unwittingly stumble on a test of Mechagodzilla. So they almost didn't even need to be in the movie at this point, because Mechagodzilla is going to be shown anyway. It is telepathically controlled by Ren Serzun, the son of the late Irosho Sirza. That was Ken Watanabe's character from King of Monsters, which is completely sidelined. Like, the people that are actually in the movie that are connected are not even explained that they are the son of anybody. So the writing in this just seems like they cut. We got to get straight to the action. Through the neural networks of the skull of the severed head of Ghidorah, but is hobbled by its power supply limitations, Walter intends to harness the Hollow Earth's energy to overcome Mechagodzilla's limitations. Which this is, at this point, we're going straight full Pacific Rim. Like, I've covered Pacific Rim, and I definitely think they did a better job at kind of explaining why you would need these massive monster fighting robots, and why we would even need to look like a Godzilla. You could make it look like anything. Okay, so inside the Hollow Earth, Kong and the team find an ecosystem similar to Skull Island. They discover the species' ancestral throne, where they find remains of an ancient war with Godzilla's kind, and a glowing axe made from another Godzilla's dorsal plates. From another Godzilla, what the hell? As they identify the power source, the Apex team sends a signature back to Hong Kong's base, despite aliens' protest. Attracted by Mechagodzilla's activation, Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong, and sensing Kong, he directly drills a shaft to the throne room with his atomic breath. In ensuing mayhem, Maya and the Apex team attempt to escape, but their heave is crushed by Kong. And nobody really liked the people anyway, so it doesn't matter. Also, there's probably like millions of people, maybe hundreds of thousands, that are probably dead from this catastrophic thing, even though that clearly this is supposed to be, at least in the American version, Kong is definitely supposed to be on our side, and Godzilla is supposed to be the enemy, and that's how it is framed. I didn't know that they were going to be this explicit with how, who's good, who's bad kind of thing. But they clearly, Kong was supposed to be the quote unquote American guy. It's not like the Japanese were claiming it. Godzilla is Japanese. I think it's Japanese. Anyways, it's not like they were. They had like Godzilla as them and King Kong's us, but they clearly wanted King Kong to be like, our god. And so, and they definitely do so much. One thing I didn't talk about in the spoiler-free section was how much they did humanizing. They were humanizing Kong. Every time they showed Kong, I felt like it was the beginning of like the Shrek movie. It was like, somebody once told me the world, like he like getting out of the massive ocean, taking a shit and whatever else. They clearly wanted you to feel like Kong was almost just like another person. And Godzilla was just this other. Godzilla wasn't like bathing himself and stuff like that to this, decent ass soundtrack. But anyways, so Maya and the Apex team attempt to escape, but their heave is crushed by Kong. Ilian, Gia, and Nathan ascend to Hong Kong, where Godzilla and Kong battle. Before we kind of ascend and all that, I want to say I enjoyed the Hollow Earth stuff. I did want to see a little bit more of the Titans kind of clash in there. I think Kong did get in a fight, but I think that the Hollow Earth has a lot of potential to be revisited in all of its glory. I think it kind of it reminds me of like a Pandora from Avatar as well, just this other world. But hell, I didn't know it was easy to get that other world in just like 5 or 10 minutes. They jumped to Hong Kong in no time. So what else do we have? Okay, so Kong, Ilya, Gia, Nathan ascend to Hong Kong, where Godzilla and Kong battle. I love the neon all in Hong Kong. All the city fights, I had no problem with that. I think all of aesthetically, it works really well. I think the CG actually looks a lot better in this movie than it does in Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island has this weird layer that is over Kong that just looks like he is behind green screen, and I just could not fully immerse myself in that world for some reason. It just was not working for me. This one worked a little bit better. So yeah, what do we have? Godzilla is initially overpowered by Kong, but Godzilla emerges victoriously, while Kong loses consciousness. And I think like Godzilla's like got several close-ups on his face, and it's like like fucking Bowser or something like that. Madison, Josh, and Bernie are caught by the security and taken to Walter. Despite Ren's concerns over the power's source of volatility, Walter orders him to activate Mechagodzilla. They lose control of Mechagodzilla, who kills Walter and executes Ren, and then who kills Walter, electrocutes Ren, and then attacks Hong Kong. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Godzilla and Mechagodzilla battle, but Godzilla is overwhelmed. Nathan revives Kong by destroying the heave, and Gia convinces him to help by destroying the heave. I think they like restart his heart, but I'm not exactly sure what happens. They do something with his heart, and Gia convinces him to help Godzilla. As Mechagodzilla overpowers both Titans, Josh short circuits Mechagodzilla's controls with Bernie's flask of liquor, momentarily interrupting the mech. Like, that is the dumbest thing this is some straight 90s action. I think Chris Stuckman actually said it best, that this felt like a movie that was between like mid 90s and early 2000s, and it nails it directly on the head. This is the type of thinking that would actually happen in that case. I kind of wish they would pour the liquor and nothing would happen, just made it sticky. But yeah, they kind of got lucky with that. So yeah, okay, so they pour the flask of liquor, momentarily interrupting the mech. Godzilla supercharges Kong's axe with his atomic breath, allowing Kong to destroy Mechagodzilla. Madison, Bernie, and Josh reunite with Mark Russell, while Godzilla and Kong acknowledge each other before the two go their separate ways. Sometime later, Monarch has established an observation post in Hollow Earth where Kong now rules. I thought that they would probably have a Marvel stinger at the end of this, considering how this was like the big matchup of the time, and I feel like they've had stingers at the end of the other movies. I don't remember if Kong Skull Island did, to be honest. But anyways, I felt like this was an opportune moment to have that kind of thing, but I guess not. Yeah, overall, this movie definitely feels choppy. It's probably a 3 or 4 hour movie taken down to a 2 hour movie. And I can definitely feel it when it comes down to some of the choppiness of the characters, how many there were. There was characters that felt like they were cut out. Like Kyle Chandler literally doesn't look like he knows what's going on. And some of the other characters, like I said, Bernie and Madison and her friend, all kind of are just there to be proxies for the audience, but we really didn't need all that. I think they could have cut out a lot of it, unfortunately. So it ultimately suffers from not having enough focus, but yet is still satisfying when it comes down to how much action you get and the choreography of the action. It's not like the 2014 Godzilla, where they would keep cutting away from the action as if they couldn't afford it. So, yeah, I gotta say, I really enjoyed the action. I kind of enjoyed the characters, but I ultimately see what they're going to do. They'll probably replace the cast again, might bring Millie Bobby Brown again, but to be honest, the characters, they just can't write them. They can't make them interesting for some reason. I don't know. So maybe keep on following the girl. The young girl who played Gia was probably my favorite. I did like Rebecca Hall, but she once again doesn't. They kind of just feel like they're there and they're not doing much. But yeah, so this is about it. This is the end of the line for Godzilla versus Kong. Let me know what everyone else thought about the movie. Let me know what you thought about the movie review. Let me know how I can improve. Check out the Patreon if you're not already on it. I guess you have to be on it if you're listening to this. Unless I released it for free. There might be some special occasions where I'm releasing stuff. But if you are not already subscribed, please, patreon.com/LuckyDog Podcast to support and get all of the podcasts early. Yes, you could be listening to podcasts like these early if you subscribe. Very, very reasonable, like $1, $2, and $5. There's different tiers that you can do to help support, and they all help keep the funding in studio and help us grow and keep on bringing fresh ass content for you, just like this, the Godzilla Kong stuff, other reviews, TV, movies, media, all that good stuff, all in the podcast. Thank you for listening. LuckyDog Podcast. Take it easy.